Hey everyone, I'm going to talk to you for a minute about making blind contour drawings. So in order to understand what a blind contour drawing is, you first have to understand what a contour is. So a contour are the lines in a drawing that show us the inner and outer edges of things. So if I'm looking at my hand, if I position my hand like this, the outside outline of my hand, that's, one very obvious contour line, right? And then within my hand, I have, many hundreds, thousands of lines that are also contour lines. So some of them are going to be more obvious than others. So the outer edge of each of my fingers is shown with a line. Every wrinkle is shown with a line. Where my nail edge is shown with a line. All these little lines that show the texture in my hand, all of those are contour lines. So when I'm doing a blind contour drawing, I want to draw as many of these lines as I can, starting with the most obvious, the outer edges of each finger, and then the deeper creases of each finger, the edges of my nails as I can see them, etc. And then, of course, the blind part is that we aren't going to be looking at our paper as we draw. We're only looking at our hand or whatever object we happen to be drawing. So what I would like you to do is make this little shield to stop you from looking at your drawing, because it's easy to say you're not going to look, but you'll be amazed at how you will either consciously or unconsciously want to glance at your paper. So this is just this happens to be from a box of tomatoes, but you could use a cereal box, you could use a paper plate. I find a thin cardboard works better than just plain paper because it won't flop. And then I just poked a hole in the middle, and I'm going to put that on my pen, okay? And I want you to use a pen. I like using a thin Sharpie. If you don't have a Sharpie yet, you could just use a ballpoint pen. But that stops you from, thinking you're gonna erase later, and it makes a nice dark line. So I have my shield on. So I have my paper here where I'm gonna start to draw. Then I wanna take my hand and make any gesture I want, and I want it to be somewhat interesting, with maybe some closed fingers or, not just flat on the table. So I'm going to hold my hand in an interesting gesture that gives me lots of lines to work with. And I'm going to be using one continuous line. So I don't want to be picking up and putting down my pen, and I want to just move my pen slowly across the page as I follow the contour line. So it's almost as if my eye is a machine and I'm scanning each line, and as I scan it, it's transferring that data over to my drawing hand. Because I am using a Sharpie and I'm not in a sketchbook, I put some extra scrap paper below because the Sharpie will bleed through onto your desk. So if you're not in your sketchbook, or even if you are in your sketchbook and you want to protect the sheet behind your page, put a little scrap paper there just to protect it, because Sharpie is infamous for bleeding through paper. All right, so I am going to go ahead. I'm going to find a place where I have a long contour line that I can follow to begin with. So I'm going to start at my wrist and move up, and I'm going to set my timer for however long I want my blind contour to be, because you don't want to have to be looking back and forth at the clock. So we'll go ahead and start. And I'm using my eyes to follow the contour line of my hand, and you'll see that my pen here is moving very, very slowly, because I just want to very deliberately follow each curve, each line, and be thinking about, okay, what direction does it go? How long does it go for? What's its relationship to the other lines I've already drawn? And If you get to a point where you need to retrace a line to get back because you're not picking up your pen, that's fine. It'll make a double line. It's okay. I happen to be at the knuckle of my thumb right now, and so I'm kind of getting some of those creases in as I go. So as I'm doing these longer lines, I'm also thinking about the little branches, the little contour lines that branch off from that line. I'm working on my thumb now, my thumbnail in particular. And I'm curving from the top of my thumb. I'm curving back down towards the joint on the other side. And there's a little bit of a smaller crease on that side. Notice I'm trying to have just a very smooth, continuous line that I'm drawing here. And you probably can actually start to see my drawing here underneath. And you notice it looks pretty funny. It's not gonna look like a masterful drawing of a hand. That's not the point. The point isn't the final drawing. The point is the exercise of getting your brain to really look at what you're drawing, make observations, and just have a nice, confident, long line. I'm going to come back up on the other side of my hand, and I'm already easily past 30 seconds of drawing, and I haven't even gotten to any other fingers yet. But I'm going to stop here because I think it gives you the idea. And you can see, okay, so there's my thumb. This right here, this shape was actually this finger behind, oh wait, no, it was like, oh, I can't remember how it was now. It was a little bit of, I already forgot how I had it placed. It was this finger peeking through behind my thumb. That's what that shape was. And then going down to do the contour line of my thumb, back up again. That right there is, you know, here. Here's my nail coming down in the crease. This is this part of my hand here with all the creases. So again, it is going to look funny, and that's the point. If it looks like a hand, then you've probably cheated. So just to give you a couple examples, this is what I was able to do in 1 minute. So obviously I didn't get very far. That's okay. Here's 2 minutes, a little bit farther. And then my 5 minute is when I actually got most of my fingers. Here's 1, 2, can't even find them all, but 1, 2, 3, I think 4 is right. Fourth finger is here. My thumb was tucked underneath, and I even got part of my watch in. So that was with 5 minutes. So notice that it's one continuous line. What you don't want to do is you don't want to pick up and put back down, and you also don't want to be making sketchy lines. By sketchy, I mean don't be going back and forth like this, okay? We don't want to see a back and forth line. We just want to see a continual, confident line. If you need to pause for a minute, that's okay. You can always pause and keep going because maybe you're looking and observing. And if you're using a Sharpie, you'll get these little circles that you can see them every time I took a little bit of a pause. You know, I got that little ink buildup there. And that's perfectly fine. But don't use a sketchy line. Don't erase. Don't pick up and put back down. And that is how you will complete your blind contour drawings. I look forward to seeing them all. Thanks, everyone.